Welcome to Star Bios, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating lives of entertainment legends. I'm your host, Casey Gold, and today we're shining the spotlight on the one and only Muddy Waters, the iconic blues musician who electrified the music world with his powerful voice and genre-defining sound. Born McKinley Morganfield on April 4, 1913, in Jukes Corner, Mississippi, Muddy Waters would grow up to become one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. Muddy's early life was marked by hardship and struggle. His mother, Bertha Morganfield, was just 18 years old when he was born, and his father, Ollie Morganfield, was a sharecropper who worked tirelessly to provide for their family. The small cabin they called home was nestled in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, where the sounds of the blues seemed to seep from the very soil itself. Muddy's grandparents, who lived nearby, played a significant role in his early life, teaching him the importance of hard work, self-reliance, and the power of music. As a young boy, Muddy was fascinated by the sounds of the Delta, the field hollers of the sharecroppers, the gospel harmonies of the local church, and the blues melodies that drifted from the juke joints and dance halls. He would often sneak into the local general store to listen to the jukebox, where he discovered the music of legendary blues musicians like Son House and Charlie Patton. These early influences would shape Muddy's unique sound, a blend of traditional blues, gospel, and modern styles that would eventually captivate audiences around the world. Muddy's formal education was limited, but his love of learning never wavered. He attended school in the nearby town of Clarksdale, where he excelled in music and athletics, but dropped out in the 6th grade to work on the plantation full-time. Despite this, Muddy continued to educate himself through books and observation, often sneaking into the local library to read about history, literature, and music. In the early 1930s, Muddy began performing at local gatherings and parties, singing and playing the guitar with a unique style that blended traditional blues with modern influences. He would often play at fish fries, picnics, and other community events, where he developed his stage presence and honed his craft. His big break came in 1941 when he met Alan Lomax, a renowned musicologist who was traveling through the Mississippi Delta in search of authentic blues musicians. Lomax was blown away by Muddy's talent and arranged for him to record several songs for the Library of Congress. These early recordings would lay the groundwork for Muddy's future success and introduce his music to a wider audience. The historical context of Muddy's early years was marked by significant social and economic change. The Great Depression had devastated the rural South, leaving many families struggling to survive. The Mississippi Delta, with its rich soil and fertile musical heritage, was a hotbed of creative expression, but it was also a region plagued by poverty, racism, and violence. Muddy's experiences growing up in this environment would shape his music and inform his perspective on the world. The Mississippi Delta, with its rich musical heritage and resilient community, played a profound role in shaping his artistic vision and determination. We saw how his formative years were marked by hardship and opportunity, and how the sounds and rhythms of the Delta would eventually define his unique style. In 1943, Muddy left Mississippi and headed north to Chicago, where he hoped to find work and pursue a career in music. He settled on the city's south side, which was then a hub of blues activity, with legendary clubs like the Checkerboard Lounge and the Maxwell Street Market. Muddy quickly became a regular on the Chicago blues scene, playing at local clubs and bars, and meeting other influential musicians like Big Bill Broonzy and Tampa Red. He also began to develop his unique sound, which blended traditional Delta blues with modern electric instruments and urban rhythms. In 1948, Muddy met Phil Chess, the co-founder of Chess Records, who was looking for new talent to sign to his label. Chess was blown away by Muddy's raw energy and charisma, and he offered him a recording contract on the spot. Over the next few years, Muddy would record some of his most iconic songs for Chess, including Hoochie Coochie Man, Manish Boy, and Rollin' Stone. These recordings would cement Muddy's status as a blues legend and introduce his music to a wider audience. One of the key factors in Muddy's success was his collaboration with Willie Dixon, a talented songwriter and producer who worked closely with Chess Records. Dixon wrote many of Muddy's biggest hits, including Hoochie Coochie Man and I Just Want to Make Love to You. He also helped to shape Muddy's sound, encouraging him to experiment with new instruments and styles. As Muddy's fame grew, so did his influence on other musicians. He became a mentor and inspiration to many young blues players, including Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page. These musicians would go on to form some of the most iconic rock bands of the 1960s, including Cream, Led Zeppelin, and the Rolling Stones. In 1955, Muddy Waters released his debut album, The Best of Muddy Waters, which featured many of his classic songs. The album was a huge success, and it helped to establish Muddy as one of the leading figures in the blues revival of the 1950s and 1960s. Throughout this period, Muddy continued to perform and record, releasing a string of hit albums and singles that showcased his unique sound and style. He also became known for his charismatic stage presence, which was marked by his signature growl, his expressive guitar playing, and his dynamic interactions with the audience. The 1950s and 1960s were a time of great social change, with the civil rights movement gaining momentum and the blues revival helping to bring African American music to a wider audience. In the 1960s and 1970s, Muddy Waters continued to tour and record, releasing a string of albums that showcased his unique sound and style. He also began to collaborate with other musicians, including Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Johnny Winter, who were all deeply influenced by his music. One notable collaboration was the 1968 album, Super Blues, which featured Muddy Waters, Bo Diddley, and Little Walter. This album was a unique blend of blues, rock, and soul, and it helped to introduce Muddy's music to a new generation of fans. Muddy also continued to innovate and experiment with his sound, incorporating new instruments and styles into his music. For example, he began to use the electric piano and the synthesizer, which added a new layer of depth and complexity to his songs. He also started to explore other genres, such as funk and soul, which helped to keep his music fresh and relevant. In 1977, Muddy Waters released his final studio album, Hard Again, which was produced by Johnny Winter. This album was a critical and commercial success, and it featured some of Muddy's most iconic songs, including Mannish Boy and Bus Driver. The album also won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional Blues Album, which helped to cement Muddy's status as one of the greatest blues musicians of all time. Throughout his later years, Muddy Waters continued to perform and tour, despite struggling with health problems. He was diagnosed with cancer in 1982, but he refused to stop performing, even when his health began to decline. His final performance was on November 22, 1982, at the Checkerboard Lounge in Chicago, where he had first started his career. Muddy Waters passed away on April 30, 1983, at the age of 70, but his legacy lives on. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential musicians of all time, and his music continues to inspire new generations of blues, rock, and soul fans. As Eric Clapton once said, Muddy Waters was the greatest blues musician of all time, and his influence can be heard in every blues and rock band that has followed him. Today, Muddy Waters' music remains as relevant and powerful as ever, with his songs being covered by countless artists and his style influencing a wide range of genres. As the great Willie Dixon once said, Muddy Waters was the voice of the blues, and his music will live on forever. And indeed, Muddy's music continues to inspire and influence new generations of musicians and fans, ensuring that his legacy will never be forgotten. With his unique sound, style, and charisma, Muddy Waters remains one of the most beloved and respected figures in the history of American music. In the words of Muddy himself, "The blues is like a big old tree. It's got many branches, and I'm just one of the leaves on that tree." But what a leaf he was, a giant of the blues, whose influence will continue to be felt for generations to come. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the life and times of Muddy Waters, one of the most influential musicians of all time. That's all for today's Star Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Casey Gold, reminding you to keep shooting for the stars.